You have to truly believe in the magic.
What's up, Magic fans? Welcome to Orlando Magic UK's weekly podcast, Penny for Your Thoughts. Tonight is Wednesday, the 5th of April, and we are recording the 119th episode. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look back at the last week with games against the Washington Wizards, Detroit Pistons, and Cleveland Cavaliers. And we're also going to have a quick chat about some of the Magic players and our thoughts on their season thus far. Before we get into that, I'm joined by two of the three. Mr. Mikey Clark, how are we, sir?
Mr. Geraint Jones, I'm doing well, mate. I've had a good day. I've had an exciting day.
Yeah,
as I told you boys, it's been fun. It's been good. We got 3 games left. I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit disappointed that the season's coming to an end, with us picking up a decent run of form at the moment. And I was this close to getting last week's 3-0 prediction correct, but it wasn't to be, thanks to Donovan Mitchell. But there we go. I'm good.
No, very competitive, wasn't it? Yeah, good stuff. And Gary, how are you, mate? Cardiff Sunderland on Monday, remember?
Oh no, we can't be thinking of that, G. We'll have to turn our phones off for the day.
Yeah, we will. No, actually, I'm not talking about football anyway after last week's debacle.
It'll still be a bromance, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, as long as we stay up, mate. Can you get in the playoffs?
Our season's been over since January, mate.
Oh, is it?
When Ross Stewart got injured, it was over.
I wish I was.
Can you stay up though, G? Are Cardiff going to stay up?
Hopefully. Well, unless we have Rotherham United do another waterlogged pitch incident when we're beating them. About? So we were beating them 1-0 away from home. Half time, they put the sprinklers on, don't they? They started pelting it down with rain, and the pitch gets waterlogged. I don't know if you saw it. It was about 2-3 weeks ago on a Saturday.
I have seen it.
And then you see the groundsman coming on, almost pushing the water off, and then in the most awful of effort, and then basically dragging it all back on. And you see it on Sky Sports News. It was absolutely awful. And then, of course,
the game got abandoned, did it?
Abandoned. We got to restart from 0-0, 90 minutes to go.
And were you winning at half-time?
We were, 1-0. It's 48 minutes gone, actually. They should have given us a 3-0 victory, I think.
I don't know what's worse, that or Geraint Restaurant.
I don't know, mate. Magic above all, isn't it? Orlando over Cardiff. So, yeah, there we go. But as long as we stay up, that's the most important thing. So before we get into everything this week, I just wanted to bring to the attention something we're trying to plan for the 15th of July, which is a Saturday. We're hoping to have an Orlando Magic UK get-together. We've thought of a location. We've gone with somewhere central in England, in Nottinghamshire. So we can try and get as many people as possible from all 4 corners. If it's a success, we hope to have a few next year, including some more up north and some down south in the west, etc. And see how they go. We're just thinking something along the lines of if there's a court, we might book a court if you've got enough people. Just have a little bit of a shoot around. Not everybody has to play. Going for a few drinks, maybe a curry, and basically just a little
drinks.
Basically a social and get everyone in the same place at any one time. So if you fancy it, if you drop us a DM on Twitter, we can add you to the list, and then we'll release further details when they become available. So that should be good, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean the 3 of us.
You seem excited,
together.
Mikey.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's be honest. The 4 of us were supposed to meet up at least when we were on holiday, and it never happened because you couldn't get out there because of Amy being ill. Yeah. So we missed out on that chance. But it'll be nice for the 4 of us to get together and everybody else as well. So come on down.
I think we've got about 10 thus far who've shown interest. So obviously we'll plug it next couple of weeks, see what we get, and then we'll look at locations. So
I think we're going to do a roll-on, roll-off 5-on-5. And then we'll do a one-on-one tournament.
Yeah, something like that. But there's no pressure to play basketball. That's key. It's just social. It's just to meet everyone to have a good time. And just talk Magic basketball. I'm just looking forward to bullying
you, to be honest. So that's all.
You do that every week, mate.
Love you, bro.
Right.
Love you, really.
I know, mate. I know. So, since we last recorded, the Magic have gone 2-1, leaving us with a record of 34-45, with 3 games to go. We're tied for the 6th best odds in the draft lottery with Washington and Indiana. And whilst I'm on this, I'm just going to run a quick tankathon and click Sim Lottery. And we jumped up to 3rd, and we'll also acquire Chicago's pick at 12. So currently we've got a 31.9% chance of a top 4 pick, 7.5% chance of number 1. So if that was to occur, I think we'd all be very happy. Right. So the week that was, we faced the Washington Wizards on Friday night, resulting in a 116-109 win. Paolo Banchero had 30 points, 12 rebounds. Markel Fultz added 25, and we overcame a 16-point deficit to beat the Washington Wizards. Washington were missing key players in Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, and Kyle Kuzma, as we found out last week when we spoke to Josh Robbins. So, Mikey, what impressed you about Paolo and Markel's performance in this victory, and any other general thoughts on the game, mate?
Playing beyond their years, playing with some confidence, playing with I don't know, even though we were down in this game, I never felt like we were ever out of it. And it wasn't just because they were missing their big 3. It was just, we've seen this plenty of times already this year. We're never out of a game, even if we get off the slow starts. And I think if you've got Paolo and Markel and Franz as well, we've always got a chance to get back into it. And we just, one solid quarter was all it really took, wasn't it? I think we held them to, 5 field goals in the 4th quarter. Terrific defensively, and proved that this team can close out games, and they're starting to learn how to do it. Good win.
Yeah, doing it when it mattered, right at the death, wasn't it? And we saw a little bits of that last night, but I'm sure we'll come on to that in a second. We then followed that W with a win against the Detroit Pistons by a score of 128-102. Paolo Banchero and Wendell Carter each had 14 points, 9 rebounds before sitting out the 4th quarter on Sunday night. The Magic had 8 players in double digits. I think that's the 2nd time they've done it now this season. And it led a balanced attack that proved too much for Detroit as we tied the series 2-2. Gary, what were your thoughts on the Pistons game? It was a bit of a long first half, wasn't it? Did you stay up for it?
Yeah, I think it was basically the blowout it needed to be. Like when you saw who was out for Detroit, it was like, I was just kind of watched. I was like, we need to win this game by a blowout. It's the nowhere near. They've got the likes of Cade Cunningham not playing, and you knew it was coming. It was just one of those where the Magic were clearly better, and I thought it was interesting that Killian Hayes, after the game, said the Magic are not 30 points better than Detroit, and I was kind of like, well, with these injuries, we are. But I think he's got a point if everyone's fit. But Detroit lost 20 of 21. It was a game where you expect us to win. If we don't win that game, then we deserve every criticism that comes with it. And we did it a professional job. And if you were sitting in the Amway for that, you might have been a little bit like, I'm going to try and maybe beat the traffic. One of those games. But it was nice to see some of the comments, or hear some of the comments that came out of Detroit after, when Coach Casey was talking about the physicality that Orlando hit them with, and also championed the cause of Paolo Banchero for Rookie of the Year, basically saying that, Jaden Ivey is very, very good, but Paolo Banchero, he made the comment, is a few years ahead of everyone else. And it was nice to get that level of respect, especially when you would think that Ivey's got a very strong case to be in the all-rookie team, and he's been one of the best rookies this season. And it was nice to hear somebody just go, yeah, he's good, but this guy's been on another level. So I took that away. But yeah, it was a very long game. It was nice to see us shooting over better than better than 50% from three and getting the balanced scoring and seeing more big nights from the bench from Jalen and Cole.
Yeah. The Oklahoma fans have been quiet this week, haven't they?
Well, I've just noticed their Stats Muse was on Twitter. I think it was Stats Muse saying about how Jalen Ivy's got 3 games. I just pulled the quote up because I saved it because I'm sad like this. Where have we gone? Stats views most games with 30 points and 30 plus points and 5 plus assists by a rookie this season. Jaden Ivey 3, Paolo Banchero 2. So I think it's Jaden Ivey's turn in the mainstream media this week.
I did see this tweet before we signed on.
His turn. It's his turn this
week. No, there we go. So 2-0 at this point. We faced the Cleveland Cavaliers last night, who were looking to secure the 4th seed in the East. We unfortunately dropped this one by 117 to 113. And essentially it's eliminated the Magic from postseason contention. The Magic did keep it close, but there was a little bit too much Donovan Mitchell down the stretch, who managed to score 43 points in the Cavs' victory. Orlando were led by Markelle Fultz, once again, with 23 points and 8 dimes, and Paolo Banchero put in 20 points and 10 rebounds. Goga Bitadze had a good game, I thought, but we're going to get onto that in a little bit. But what were your thoughts on this game, both of you?
It was a well played game, wasn't it? It was a sort of game that there was something in it for both teams down the stretch. It was another good example of why we want this team to carry on competing, why tanking was just a waste of time, and you want this team to play meaningful games, and this was 100%. It was one of those games. We got off to a really good start in the first quarter as well. Something that hasn't been happening recently in recent games that we've played, like the Washington game. We got down early. This game was the opposite. Unfortunately, it came down to Donovan Mitchell. He is the one that was the decider. And I don't know what you guys thought. I really like the decision that Mose made of putting Suggs in there in the final quarter to guard Mitchell. And to be quite honest, I'm not quite sure there was anything else we could have done to have slowed him down. I thought Suggs played him as well as you could possibly play him. He got to his spots. He got what he wanted. He made life difficult for him, but he still put up the points, didn't he? So yeah, I was on the edge of my sofa this morning watching the last few minutes of that game, because I thought we went on that 10-0 run, took a 1-point lead with about 3 minutes to go, and you're thinking Mikey's close to 3-0 this week. But it wasn't quite to be down the stretch. But and even down the stretch, I mean, we missed shots, but we had good looks. We were getting the shots that we wanted, but it just wasn't one of those nights. And I felt like you were maybe missing one of those players. We were missing somebody like Paolo having a big night, because you needed somebody else to sort of go bucket for bucket with Mitchell. But It was a balanced scoring game, I would say, on our point of view. But hey, if Mitchell's going to put up 43 and they play like that, one more point I want to make as well before Gary jumps in is the Cavs are obviously better than we are at this point, and I would say the main difference was they've got 2 big men that can defend the paint and defend the rim, something that we lack a little bit of. But I think Cleveland is one of those teams that we can look at and go, well, that could be us next season, or it could be us in 2 years' time. And I actually think we've got more weapons potentially when you think we've got a 6th man who can put up buckets in Cole, Jalen, who's a lockdown elite defender already. Paolo's going to get better. Franz is going to get better. I think we could easily be better than Cleveland in a couple of years. And then you think we've got picks to add into that this year as well. But yeah, I thought it was a really good game to sort of see where we were at in compared to a team like Cleveland.
Yeah. Just before Gary goes in, friend of ours, Neil Piper, was actually at the game last night, and he was a couple of rows back from broadcasting crew, and he messaged me this morning. He was like, "You wanted to hear the trash talking between Jalen Suggs and Donovan Mitchell. They were back and forth all game long, and then obviously you had the embrace at the end of the game, which is good to see. But we'll get on to Jalen again in a second, but quite the game that. So go on, Gap.
A lot of similar to what Mikey said. I felt we played well. We're playing against a 50-win team now, and I think they are, as Mikey said, a measuring stick for us in a year or two, where they made a big leap, and we expect to do similar in the coming seasons. Mitchell, that's his fourth 40-plus point game on the trot. He went 15 of 23 from the field, and when you factor in that Caris LeVert off the bench gave them 5 of 6 from 3-point range, when you add in the talent they've got, you're in for a hard night. And the fact that we kept it close despite that is a testament to how well we played. We play that well against a lot of teams, we win. That's a difficult pill to swallow, but there was nobody disgraced themselves from that. Credit to Wendell Carter for his 4-5 from 3-point range, which was good to see. I feel if you'd put somebody who had no knowledge of basketball, so the journalists who cover the LA Lakers and the Rookie of the Year race.
Well, McManaman.
Yeah. If you put them down and said, here's an eyesight test based on one game, who's the all-star point guard? You would have said Markelle Fultz. I'm not saying that because I like Garland. I think Garland's a fantastic player, and he is a big reason why Cleveland are where they're at, and he's not getting the credit he deserves. But on last night's performance, Fultz looked the better point guard in that game, and it makes you wonder if this continues, which there's no reason it wouldn't, and he can stay healthy, where he will be next season. Because what we are seeing is number one pick Markelle Fultz right now. Geez, trying not to smile because he's still happy.
I've been saying this for years,
but it's lovely to see. And then I feel Jalen Suggs proved his weight in gold, what he does bring to the team at the end of the game. I thought Cole was great off the bench, and you look at it and you've got Caris LeVert, who is a seasoned pro, who was a difference maker for them, but really Cole gave as much to us as Caris LeVert did to them. So there's a lot of, if Jonathan Isaac's fit, we win that game. I would say if Jonathan Isaac would have been the difference maker in that game, I think. But end of the day, 50-win team, and we took them all the way. And for me, you could have stood back and went, there's your fifth place team or your fourth place team versus your sixth place team, and it would have been believable.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that, mate.
Yeah, the other thing to add to this with Fultz is we still got to remember he's still a year off an ACL. Like, you think he came back this similar sort of time last year, didn't he, for a few games towards the end of last season? And then, like they always say, coming back from an ACL, you've got to give it at least a year before they get back to where they were. And I think last night's game, we saw those glimpses of Markelle that he's got. I just want to see him be even more aggressive than he is on a more consistent basis. Does that make sense? I feel like there's times in the game where he can sort of, and I know it's not necessarily his team. It's got to go through Paolo and Franz, but I feel like there's times in the game where Markel's feeling it, and we say it about Paolo when Paolo's feeling it, give him the ball. And I think there's times I think Fultz could do a little bit more of that. But look, next year he's gonna be even better, isn't he? Yeah.
He looks sorry, G.
Go on. No, go on, you go, mate.
He looks like the guy who, when you look at all of the pre-draft tape that was put out there about the top 3 picks of that draft, and you see the plays that were being made about the 3-level scorer and Harden with hops and things like that, you don't want to jump on it because the 3-point shot's got to become consistent, but you can see where that's at, where he's going in the paint. Like the announced team last night said he played volleyball at one point on LeVert, and he's got that in his locker. And you look at that and you're going, yeah, he looks like a top 3 pick in that game. He looked in that one game better than Garland, who's an all-star, and Garland.
Yeah. So as I've alluded to, we've seen a little bit more of Goga Bitadze in recent games. So I just want to get your thoughts on his recent play. He's been especially solid in 2 of the last 3 games, notching 10 and 5 last night, 13 and 3 versus Detroit, and I think a couple of games before that he had double-digit points and some decent rebounding numbers. So would you like to see him back? So any thoughts on that, Gary?
I think it's partly going to come down to where we end up drafting. You know, if somehow we win the number 1 draft choice this year and we take Wembanyama, there's going to be somebody who's a big going out the door, and it's going to probably be him or Bol. You would imagine would be one of the guys who would be sacrificed. That said, his recent form's been encouraging. You're looking at it and you're going, well, he's only 23 years old. He was a first-round pick. I think it was 18th in 2019. And he offers something different to our other 2 centers. So he's got size, 6'11", 250. He kind of has that Robin Lopez style presence when he's on the court. When we need a big body in there, he's a serviceable big body. So I think he has a place in the rotation if we feel we need to throw in a bigger body and change the flow of the game. And he does change it because what he brings is different to Mo Wagner, who in his own right can liven up a game. He can put points on the board quick. Sometimes you need a big body to throw in there. And whilst it wasn't evident initially, I think we've seen in this little run recently how he can factor in, and just got to keep in mind that he's young. He's 23. So if we decide to keep him, it's not the worst move in the world.
No, he's been especially good getting into, those inside positions, hasn't he? And he's proved, to be in the right place, the right time, make the right. I loved that one move yesterday when didn't he just fake the ball out and then he just took it to the rim and just flushed it. That was absolutely superb. I won't lie, Paul and I probably have been a bit more Team Mo Wagner, but he's, in fairness to him, really come alive the last couple of games as somebody, if you were to say to me, he's your 3rd string center, you'd take him every day, wouldn't you?
He's different as well to Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
Very different to Mo Bamba.
If we're honest, I think we've got 2 third string centers.
Yeah. So which do you keep? That's the next question then, isn't it? They
Based
both
on
offer
the entire season, I think you would go Mo Wagner, but I think Bitadze's got a point to prove because he's got a limited amount of time to make a statement. And I actually think the last couple of games he's made Mo Wagner almost look invisible out there when they've been on the floor together because he's had a bigger impact. But it's been a nice experiment. It was a great pickup considering it didn't cost us anything to go and get him. And we've had we'll have a 15 game sample size to see what he's done. And I think he looks more and more comfortable with every game that he's been out there playing for the Magic. So yeah, I would still lead Mo Wagner for next season if it was me. But I think Bitadze certainly, like Gary said, brings us something that we don't have at the moment.
So that leads us on nicely into a man who hasn't featured since the 20th of March when we played that franchise in Los Angeles. Bol. So how would you rate his season's performance to date, Mikey? And do you think we bring him back and can he crack the rotation next season?
That's a lot of questions.
Well,
how would you rate his season's performance?
Two-parter.
What would you give it? A C? A B minus? Maybe something like that is maybe where I would put it. I mean, it was a low risk move taking on Bol last year at the trade deadline. His contract, what's he earning? 2.2 million, I think, a year. So
I think we got a team option on it as well, I think, this year.
Yeah, he has to be back next year unless the Magic really believe that we are due a big jump like Cleveland made this year, and they're going to be looking at players that can make a bigger impact than Bowles having. I mean, you think it was great. You had 2, 3, 4 highlights a game when Bowles was playing earlier in the year, but then we had a lot of players out injured, and it was like the only bright point for certain games where you were looking forward to watching Bowles play. Look, he's still really young. He's not played a huge amount of NBA games without looking. I can't remember. We'll have a look in a minute. But I don't think he'll crack the rotation next season. I think we've already started to see that with him out of the lineup, where the Magic are more effective. There's players that are outperforming him at the moment. But look, it's a big off season. He's got a lot of improving to do. And hopefully another off season and another year next year, he'll continue to grow with the rest of the young core that we've got. But yeah, I wouldn't want to see him go anywhere else next year, but I'm not quite sure he's got enough to be a consistent rotation player for next year.
Yeah, his defense has been a bit suspect. He's not shooting the 3 like he was in November, December. He's very hesitant at the moment. You get the odd highlight, don't you? But
that was the funny thing, G. In the off season, I can't remember. There was one of the players turned around and said, "Out of everybody on the Magic, who would you want taking a 3-point shot?" And they were saying Bol.
It wasn't Jeff Turner who said that to us.
No, I want to say it was one of the players. I might be wrong. Somebody might correct me in the comments, but yeah, so I'm pretty sure somebody like Wendell or somebody like that. They were doing some work in the preseason, and they're saying Bowles 3-point shots surprising, but it hasn't really worked out in the Magic's games this year, really.
No, that's right. That's my last point. Jalen Suggs' rookie season versus his sophomore year now. Now, obviously, he's had some injuries in his first year, but he's improved greatly in a number of categories. Not only his defense, which has been absolutely superb, and he can be considered a real lockdown defender. So his field goal percentage has gone up from 36.1 to 42.3. His 3-point field goals up from 21.4 to 32, and his true shooting percentage up from 45.5 to 52.6. Add that since February, since he's been healthy, he's been shooting 38.8 from 3 in a 19-game stretch. So with this growth this season now, what do you want to see more of next season from Jalen, given that he's going to have a full off season to actually work on his game, whereas last year he was a bit injured? I'll come to both of you on that one.
Mikey? No problem. No problem. I would say that the 2 areas that I would like to see Jalen Suggs improve in is, first of all, we've got to consider he was drafted as a point guard. And I think for a point guard, he could work on his handle a lot. There's times still where he's got the ball and I'm thinking you're a bit out of control. And if we're going to turn it over, it's when you're running. It's not the same fluidity as you get with Markelle or Cole. Now, you can get away with that if you've got him on the floor with Banchero or Wagner. If they're going to put for a point guard or somebody who was drafted as a point guard, the handle would need work for me. The other thing that needs consistency, because it has improved, is his 3-point shot. Now, if you go back to his rookie year, that was one of those things where you saw him lining up at 3. I was kind of wincing a little bit because I was kind of, this isn't going to go well. Now you kind of think, just like anybody else, really standing there for a 3, it could go in, but we want that where he becomes money from the 3. And the reason I say that is I don't think Gary Harris is locked in at that 2-guard spot. And I know I had a chat with a friend of the show, Ian Holmes, just on DM the other day, and we were both saying he was in a bit of a slump to end the season. It hasn't been Gary's best run of the season, and we all like him and we all know what he brings. But I think that 2-guard spot is still up for discussion. Now, it might be that we address that during the draft. It might be that we actually have the answer there, but the answer is either Jalen or Cole. And for my money, I said if you were ranking the guards, I would still put Cole ahead of Jalen Suggs. I'm not saying that to the detriment of Jalen Suggs. I just think Cole's had a huge leap. in this season. We have seen what Jalen Suggs can do and what he can bring, and we saw it again. If anyone wants a reminder of how good he is, watch the end of that game last night and what he can do. He's a leader, and look at when we clearly weren't going to go into the play-in. The look on his court, on his face, the way he hung around on the court afterwards. He's a winner. And you need people like him in your locker room. He just needs to improve offensively to have that playing a little bit more under control, having the game slowing down that little bit for him, like we've seen it do for example, Cole, and just take that 3-point shot into next season, because I think that 2-guard spot for me is open. That is open. I think that's the place we need more production from.
Yeah. I love Jalen. We spoke about it last summer when we were all saying who should be the starting 2-guard next to Markel. And I think I was on an island when I said Jalen. Gary makes all very valid points. Cole's been playing out of his skin as well. And it is very much up for grabs. The only thing about Gary Harris, obviously, is I don't think he's had the volume of shots that we need for him to have, because he's such a good 3-point shooter. I think we need to go to him a little bit more just to spread that floor. So I want to see, like Gary said, he needs to sort of understand his role, what he brings, etc. He's not the point guard. He's a tweener. He can play both, and he like you said, he's a winner. I just want to see improvements in all areas, really. He's very competitive. Maybe his ball handling, possibly. We've had a couple of turnovers, needless. Other than that, you got to commend him. That the American football passes he delivers from, at the end of the half, that's a real weapon, isn't it? You get an extra 1 or 2 shots off possibly per game. And they're not great percentage shots, but it just offers a different dimension that other teams don't have, perhaps. So, just working on his shooting. Shooting's probably the main key one, isn't it? And just getting confident with his shot, and it's improved greatly. And like Gary said, you're not wincing when he's taking the shots anymore. I think that Chicago game, when he hit that game winner, gave him real confidence. And shooting, I'd actually go with. You, Mikey?
I completely agree with everything you've both said. I don't think we're disputing anything that he does on the defensive end. It's the offensive end that's got to come together for him. There's just too many possessions where you think, Jalen, where are you going? What are you trying to do? I think there was a possession, was it last night or the Detroit game, and he drove downhill and he got into the paint and just jumped, and he had nowhere to go. I mean, that's like rule 101, isn't it? You don't jump off your feet without, don't leave your feet. And we see that quite often from him. I do think some of it is on the coaching staff as well. They've got to work with him to establish a role. So we like Cole this season, I think they've said to him, we want you to be our 6th man this year. And as the season's gone on, he's looked more and more comfortable, and he's grown into that role, and he's becoming a very consistent weapon off the bench for us now. And I think next year, Jalen again, another year in Coach Mosley's system, is going to understand more and more of what the Magic want from him. I think it's the understanding more than anything else, because I think he's got all the assets. I think he's got the ability. Like I said, I don't think his shooting's. I don't think there's a lot to work on. I think he just needs the reps this summer. I think his form's pretty good. I think, like you said you both picked up on his ball handling. I think it's that, and understanding the way we want to play a little bit better. So we'll see. But he let's be honest, he's another one of those. He's got to improve this summer. He's got to hit the ground running next year, because this is we're getting to the point where players are going to start being pushed aside and moved on, because it's all based on the rate of growth of Franz and Paolo, and the faster they progress, everybody else has got to keep up with them. Because if they don't, then
Left behind. Yeah.
yeah. Gary,
Yeah.
what are you going to say?
It would help if he could stop getting injuries, because it feels as though whenever he's building momentum and he's finding himself and he's going on a run and his offensive game's starting to impact like his defensive game, he picks up a knock and he's out for 4 or 5 games and then he has to come back again. And I think that would really help, because it happened in his rookie season as well, where he just started to mature and slow down a bit, and then he got injured. So I think he's a little bit unlucky, but it's also his style of play. But you can't say to Jalen Suggs, don't go 100 miles an hour and put your body on the line, because it's just who he is. So I think it's what a problem to have when you consider where we were with the point guard situation and where we are now.
And we've almost got too many, haven't we?
We've got 3 good options, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Geez, we've got 1 option and that's it. And
Oh yeah, you know that. I
Point
didn't tell you
France.
that, do I?
point call.
Come on, Michael. Behave. Right, the week ahead. So we're recording our next episode next Friday, April the 14th. Before that, the Magic will finish the season, unfortunately. So we face the Cleveland Cavaliers again on April the 7th, which is midnight. So Thursday night, Friday morning. They're currently 50-30, locked in at 4th. On a 2-game winning streak, and have won 7 of their last 10 with a 19-21 road record. We may see some players missing out, hopefully Donovan Mitchell. Then we will face the Brooklyn Nets on the 8th of April, the morning of. So that's Friday night, Saturday morning, 12:30. They currently sit at 43-36, good for 6th in the East. They've currently lost 1 in a row and won 4 of their last 10, and are currently 22-17 at home. It's ridiculous they're in the playoffs, isn't it? Let's be honest. Anyway, and then we've closed the season. Oh, come on, look at that roster. It's a joke, isn't it? At Miami on Sunday, 9th of April, with a 6 p.m. tip in the UK. So that's 1 Eastern in the US. They currently sit 42-37, good for 7th. In the East, currently on a 2-game winning streak and won 6 of the last 10. They're currently 26-14 at home. So it'd be lovely if we could beat them. Just make sure they got to go in the play-in, wouldn't it? So predictions. I've got Paul's. So I'll read you Paul's. Paul's gone 3-0 because he thinks there'll be a lot of teams sitting players. Who's to say we're not to sit players, but it's not the way we work, is it? So predictions. Let's go to Mikey first.
I'm gonna go 2-1 this week. I'm
2-1.
gonna say we beat Cleveland. I thought we were gonna beat them last night. I think if we can split that series, then I think or split this 2-game series with them would be good. I actually think we're gonna lose in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I just think Mikal Bridges is just on one for them. And look, they are in the playoffs. I know you don't think that they should be a playoff team, but they're not going to want to just bow out early in the first round, are they? They still got something to play for, so they're going to want to carry any. Like I said, they've won 4 of the last 10. They want to pick up a few more wins and get themselves going before the playoffs start. So yeah, I'll say we'll drop the 1 in Brooklyn, but I'm going to say we finish the season with a win in Miami.
Good stuff.
Cheating Heat.
Gary?
Just to be different, I'll say we'll go 1 and 2 because we'll give players who haven't had minutes. So I think you might see Gorga get more of an extended burn. You might see Jay Scrub get some floor minutes. You might see Chuma get some time. You might see Bol get some time, etc. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually did rest some players going into the off season to try and not pick up an injury. So I'm going to go 1 and 2. But to see your point on Brooklyn, seeing Karis LeVert last night and Jarrett Allen, again, we'll go back to it. You must be really stinging if you're a Brooklyn fan when you look at the roster now and you I mean it in all seriousness. You look at the roster now and you look at like Ben Simmons and stuff and you think what we had and what we gave up, and you could have still had KD with Kyrie and then surrounded them with your Dinwiddies, your Jarrett Allens, etc., which would have been better probably than what they've got. So you must be absolutely steaming when you see the walk past the Brooklyn's arena and see the Ben Simmons jerseys hanging up in the shop. It must be a real think of that, you know. But there we are.
They can enjoy their first round sweep, can't they? Right. Oh God, I'm not going to go 0-3 because we should never go 0-3. So I'm going to have to agree with one of you. I'm going to agree with Paul. 3-0. Finish as we mean to go on. Springboard to next year. Beat them all. We're better than them all. So yeah, 3-0. Right. So as you were talking then, Mikey, and then you said to me, what do I think of Jalen Suggs? I was actually trying to write a quiz because it's about time. Yeah, on the fly. But I was just trying to do my research. And I was trying to write down, and you came to me. So, and this is the way. So all I was trying to do was trying to get a list of Orlando Magic players who have been who've earned an all-rookie team first or second ballot. So there's 15 of them. I think we've done this before, probably about in episode 12 or something like that. So you may know who they are from remembering back. There's a couple on here that are a little bit different and probably not people you would remember. So 15 of them. So if you two want to fire away, putting you on the spot now. Franz Wagner. He's the most recent one, and you are off to a good start, Gary.
Shaq.
You would go there, wouldn't you? You would go there. Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah.
I don't remember. Alfred Payton, was he?
Alfred Payton is the second most recent one. Good job.
Mike Miller.
Mike Miller. Correct.
Penny Hardaway.
Anthony Hardaway is correct.
Reel him off, Gary.
Could this be a one? Because I don't know whether we traded for him in his rookie season, but would Drew Gooden be on there?
Drew Gooden would be on there, correct?
Keep going.
Come on, Mikey, you know a couple of these. Somebody who got us to the finals in 2009.
No, the Guinness is kicking in now. I don't know where I am. No, joking. It's late for me. It's 8:30. What are you on about? How many have we got left?
Courtney Lee.
You've done 6. Courtney Lee did
Lee,
not. He didn't. No. He didn't. You got 6 down.
Nick
Oladipo.
Victor Oladipo is correct, Mikey. What was that, Gar?
Nick Anderson.
He didn't. He
Disgrace.
didn't. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Dwight Howard did.
I know. You must have had the Lakers.
3D.
Guy. 3D was on there. He was the first Magic player to make the NBA All-Rookie first or second team. So you're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 of these are obvious, guys.
Did they have to be on the Magic when they were?
Yes. Yeah. Or being part of the Magic that season, because there is one player that was traded for Dwight Howard. Yeah.
And Jameer.
Right, now we get into tricky territory. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to have to start giving clues now, aren't I?
Was Brian Williams one?
He wasn't one, no. He wasn't. So if you
This is where my memory goes slightly, but Gordon Geraint.
I thought you were going Aaron Gordon. Gordon Geraint is one. He's the one who started off at Memphis, was included on a trade with Gooden for Mike Miller. Okay, so you've got 1, 2.
AG wasn't on there.
He wasn't.
No.
Come on. One was on the Heart and Hustle team. Undrafted, I believe it was.
Chucky Atkins.
From South Florida.
Atkins.
Chucky Atkins. Yep. We've got 3 left.
I'm just thinking who we drafted.
So 1, it was my favourite rookie of all time.
Harpring.
It was. Here we go. Matt Harpring.
Mike Doliak make one or not?
Mike Doliak was also
He is
in
on a
that
roll.
same team. Well done, mate. Well done. And then the last one. This one's a tricky one, mate. He played centre, if that helps.
Zaza?
No, it was in the mid-90s, I believe. I'm just trying to find the year for you. It was in the 91-92 season. Is that his middle name? His middle name was Corvette. 7 foot from Hopkins, South Carolina. His jersey number was 53. Does that help?
Not really.
Not really. No. I have to give you it, didn't I? Stanley Roberts.
Wow.
Wouldn't have got that.
No, that was a toughie. He played for the Magic
That's
for
10,
one season.
that was 10 years before I started following him.
Yeah, and he was mainly associated with the LA Clippers between 92 and 1997. So, anyway, it was good to have that back, wasn't it?
More trivia in the off season, G.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Especially on that Orlando Magic get together. We're gonna have to have some sort of trivia, aren't we? A quiz night. To do a PowerPoint presentation or something.
Oh my goodness!
I'd say B, like coming up with like a horned helmet with like Quizmaster on the Buffalo head, something like that.
Like Taskmaster, who wants to be little Alex Horn?
It'll be a bit early in the off season. In fact, what dates is Summer League this year? Is that going to be right around when we might have our meetup?
I think it's.
I was going to say we could use
August, isn't it?
We could rope Paul in as Charles Barkley and who we play for. Just do a Summer League version of that.
Yeah, we could do. So, any more, guys?
No, just enjoy the last 3 games and
yeah.
Let's hope October rolls around quickly because the summer
and some lottery luck.
We are planning on doing another Zoom watch party, I think, aren't we, for the lottery and the draft? So keep an eye out for those details as well.
That's it. Thank you as always for listening and watching. Please hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, all at Orlando Magic UK. If you fancy some shopping, click onto NBA Store EU or Fanatics. Can't even speak now, guys. All can be found in our links below. Don't forget to use our affiliate code MAGICUK10 for 10% off your entire order. Certain exclusions may apply, and there could be a better code there for you. So please do check that. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Orlando Magic UK. So from Gary, Mikey, and myself, until next time, go Magic.